Let's talk about emotional pain and suffering for a moment. The type of pain that comes as a result of challenging and unfortunate situations. When I was 20 years old, I woke up one morning to 85 missed calls and text messages. My gut told me that I was about to stumble upon bad news. So as a way of avoiding bad news, I went onto social media instead. As I scrolled through my newsfeed, I saw post after post that said, "Rest in peace, Dawn. We love you, Dawn. You will always be remembered." I thought to myself, who the heck is Dawn? At 20 years old, I was under the false impression that I was eternal and would live forever. Death never occurred to me as a reality, especially not for anyone my age. And then the post of all posts smacked me right in the face when a picture of my childhood friend, Danielle, popped up on the screen with the caption that wrote, "A piece of my heart is in heaven, missing you so much, Danielle Ross." I felt as though I got punched in the stomach. My heart hurt. To say I was a mess would be an understatement. I didn't know what to do with myself. Dawn's passing away had me realize that for 20 years I'd been alive, but I hadn't really begun to live. I was sleepwalking through life. My biggest priorities were my friends, shopping, and boys. I didn't have real meaning, let alone a mission that gave my life purpose. That day, a voice in my head said, "Ayelet, today you will begin to live. Today is the first day of the rest of your life." This was my spiritual awakening. This was the moment I allowed God in. This was the moment I decided to turn my mess into my mission. Rumi, the 14th century Sufi mystic, shared, "Your wound is the place where the light enters." That line couldn't be more true. What I didn't realize prior to Dawn's passing is that God is always talking to you. We need to learn how to listen. So what is pain and what is the point of it? Rabbi Nachman teaches in Likutei Moharan lesson 65 that oneness is the ultimate purpose, which is absolute good. For the ultimate purpose is absolute good. Even our troubles and our suffering and other bad events that happen to us, from the perspective of the ultimate purpose, are surely not bad at all, but are greatly good. Certainly, all suffering comes intentionally from God for one's own good, whether to remind us to come closer to God or to help us atone for our wrongdoings. Suffering is a great good, for God's intention is certainly only for the good. Or, as my Sephardi family tells me, any suffering that befalls you is a kapara. It is in replacement. Let's say you end up losing something valuable, something material. We need to say thank you for having that material possession lost, because a kapara is God's way of having something material taken from us instead of something, God forbid, emotional or health related. We are not one to calculate God's doings. So therefore, if we can zoom out of the present moment, which involves suffering, and we can look at suffering from the perspective of the ultimate purpose, which is God's ultimate intention, we'll end up not suffering at all. I'll explain further. When we can look at suffering from the intention of the ultimate good, which is to experience God's oneness, we will be filled with joy from looking at that bigger picture and reminding ourselves of the ultimate intention behind these challenges. Rabbi Nachman shares a technique for those of you who want to look at the ultimate purpose, which we said is absolute goodness. The technique is to close your eyes and focus your attention on the ultimate purpose. The light of the ultimate purpose is far from a person, especially when you're suffering with your eyes open, because visual stimulation is a huge distraction and obstacle to tapping into your heart space, which is where your soul resides, which is where goodness lives. In other words, you must close your eyes from the illusions of the world. Don't look and get distracted by the desires of this world. With your eyes closed, you can see the ultimate purpose, which is absolute good. Suffering then comes to an end, for suffering is essentially a result of one's distance from that ultimate purpose. From this perspective, suffering can be a tool that brings you to the ultimate state of surrender. What a beautiful alchemy, to go from suffering to surrender. Let me give you a more recent example. We recently had our car stolen, and I'm not talking about the inside contents of our car being robbed. I'm talking about the entire car just gone. The first stage of emotional turmoil I experienced was suffering. I was angry and sad. I felt violated. How dare they take my possessions and the car seats that belong to my babies? And then I stumbled upon a quote shared by my friend Gedalia Fenster. So simple and so true, he writes, "Pain, pain, grow away." Pain, pain, grow away. What else is the purpose of pain and suffering if not to grow and come even closer to the divine? A Course in Miracles text teaches us to have conscious contact with the divine in whatever understanding you have of the divine. When we come to recognize challenges and suffering as the divine teacher meant to help us turn into the next best version of ourselves, we come into conscious contact with the divine. Your pain is causing you to expand in ways you never thought possible. Your suffering is designing the vessel that is you to enable you to contain more light. Yes, in the moment it feels like you're going through hell. But if you can surrender through, close your eyes, see that the ultimate purpose is ultimately for your own good, the you that will flower from this place will experience a life of inner peace and equanimity. When you stand with your nose up against a massive painting, it's impossible to see or understand anything beyond what your eyes can see. But take a step back, and then another step back, and then another. And eventually, with enough time and enough surrender, no matter how challenging the situation, you will come to experience the good. Challenges are portals to expansion. Challenges are portals to expansion. Turn your mess into your mission, and you will come to experience challenges as portals to expansion. Sharing is caring, so if you liked what you heard, pay it forward. Share this with a friend. And as always, happy manifesting.